Hello, everybody. I'd like to introduce you to Rick and Ariel, and we're looking at their project today in Burnley. So this project they bought for £80,000, and they've refurbished the project, and now it's worth £160,000, or it's going to be worth £160,000. So welcome, guys. Thanks very much for being here. First of all, tell us a little bit about your background into property and what's led you to this point.
So thanks, Chris. I've been in property for going on 20 years now, done quite a few BRRR properties and buy-to-lets generally. Some slightly bigger commercial conversion type projects. Came to sourced capital more than anything, and to help sell deals with more credibility to investors. And that's led us up to this point now where I've met Ariel through Sourced, and we're working together on some projects like this one here.
And yours?
So I don't have a background in property. I come actually from software development. I joined Sourced 2 years ago, and I started, first of all, building for myself. I started buying some buy-to-lets and refurbished them, and now I'm renting to social care providers. And then I moved to this project, which is a flip. I found it on the market, and I started getting in touch with Rick that has more background in property and doing it together.
So Rick, with your background, with 20 years of being in property, what makes this development so interesting?
Well, to be honest, Chris, when Ariel came to me with this that he'd found, I had to obviously look into it and see what I thought it was going to be best as. And we looked into it together, and the reason that it kind of stood out was because 3-bedroom properties in the area are in quite high demand. Mm-hmm. There's an abundance of 2-bedroom terraces, but 3-bed end terrace, as you'll see when we go in, it's quite spacious. Mm-hmm. We expect that that's going to generate quite a lot of interest on the market, and it commands that slightly higher value. The location's very good. We're just kind of round the corner from the park. Mm-hmm. So those factors all combined made us think that this is quite a good one. Plus, obviously, the purchase price and the fact that it needed a full refurbishment was the way that we could add the value.
Perfect. Let's go and have a look. So we're inside the property now. Obviously, there's still some work going on. I do love a freshly plastered wall. Tell us about the numbers for this property. So we said that it was £80,000 purchase, and it's going to be £160,000. What's the renovation cost you?
So first of all, this one was a probate, so we didn't have to pay stamp duty on it. And the renovation cost is $35,000.
And you've obviously done a lot, right? So you've taken this. Just yes. Unpack what that renovation's involved as well a little bit.
Yes, it's so the property was not in a terrible state, but needed a full renovation. As you see, we had to replaster everything, to do a new kitchen, new bathrooms, new flooring. Yeah. So the project in total will cost us about 35. Plus we will have the finance cost and other costs that will be about 15,000. And so we are aiming for a profit of about 30,000 that we are aiming for.
And what about the timelines? How long did it take you to purchase it? And then how long is the renovation going to take you?
So the longest was to get the house, because I made the first offer, I think, a year ago. And it took ages to go to the probate. So finally, we got the house. It was April, and it went through finance very quickly. And I think in other 8 weeks maximum.
So the renovation has taken you from April until now, which is what, 4 months?
Yeah, we think it will be 5 months, 6 months maximum, the renovation.
Okay, and then it's going to go back on the market, and you're going to be selling it to
first-time buyers.
First-time buyers is your market.
Yes.
And what's the market like? What's the demand like in this kind of area for first-time buyers?
The demand is high, and this type of houses are not so common, especially with a nice garden like this, and with which is an airy house. It's It's big, it's spacious. There are not so many. Every time we invite somebody to see the house, they are impressed at how a house like this is in this area. So we hope to get a quick sale.
And have you started marketing it with an estate agent? Have you gone through that process of choosing your local agent and putting it out there yet?
We are in the process. We know a few agents already because I already bought a few houses here. Rick already bought houses here. So we know estate agents. We will try to choose also one that will eventually help us getting other houses. So we will use this project as well to use
to build that relationship with the estate agent, right?
Yes.
Yeah, very wise. Okay, thanks, guys.
So we're in the kitchen, and this has had a full refurbishment as of the rest of the rooms, but I'd say the transformation in here is probably one of the most impressive. We've changed the layout from having units along both sides to just having units on one side and creating like an L shape with the wall and base units. The beauty is as well, there's an additional room at the back of the kitchen which leads onto the garden, which previously was almost like a conservatory room, but it wasn't very practical. What we're now deciding to do with it is we've created a doorway, and that will be a utility room. So if young families do purchase the property like we expect them to, it'll provide a really good, useful space to come in from the garden or from the park, dump their stuff, and then you don't have all that in your kitchen. So in the two reception rooms, we've kept it fairly simple. Obviously, it's going to have full replastering, redecorating, rewiring, replumbing. So it's a fairly extensive job, new windows, etc. But it's just two very good sized reception rooms that are a through lounge dining room at the moment. We're going to put some more contemporary doors on the opening so that you can either have one open plan space or you can shut that off to create two individual spaces, just depending on what the family needs at the time. So the upstairs is a good layout. There's a large landing area and 3 bedrooms. Say 2 good sized double bedrooms. Again, I've had the full refurb job on them. So fully replastered, rewired, skirting boards, etc. Bathroom, family bathroom, and then there's the smaller single bedroom at the back of the property.
So Ariel, you said that you found this property and then you introduced it to Rick so that you guys could work together. Tell us how you found it.
So basically, I was in touch with the agent, and he called me because this property went back to the market. It was a fall through, and he called me and he said that there is this property available if I'm interested. And so I came and viewed, and yes, I was interested. The asking price was a little bit higher. I put a cash offer of 80. I wasn't expecting actually that they accepted, but they accepted straight away. And but then the probate took time, and so I involved source as well and we did of course some comparables. We did all the due diligence that the deal was stacking up, and it was, and then only later I involved also Rick to go through this project, and we used a surveyor that came out with a very good evaluation, and that's where we then founded the property and got it.
So you've mentioned probate a couple of times, Rick. Would you mind telling us how purchasing through probate has changed the way that you purchase this property?
Obviously, the probate is the process you have to go through after someone unfortunately has passed away. Mm-hmm. So the family that had inherited this property had to go through that process, and it can be quite lengthy. It actually worked in our favour in this instance, because if the property has been empty for 2 years or over, you can actually get a stamp duty exemption because you're bringing probate property back into use. And so we got our solicitor to look into it once we'd managed to get proof from the vendor and their solicitor that it had indeed been empty for 2 years, and that was how we managed to purchase this one without the obligation to pay the extra stamp duty, which obviously, as we all know, in property, it's getting more and more expensive. So that was quite a win for us in some ways.
So the big risk in that process is you found the property, you've done your due diligence on the property, but then you get the surveyor in, and what the surveyor's opinion is unpredictable, right? You do what you can, you put the comparables together, you work with the support team to predict what the surveyor's going to say, but then when the surveyor came in, how similar was their valuation of the house compared to the comparables that you'd put together? How close were you?
So we were quite impressed with the valuation. We sent it in having done our own due diligence fairly thoroughly. So we were confident at the purchase price and the ultimate end value, but to have that reinforced by the surveyor when they are usually very cautious, as I'm sure we all agree, was refreshing. So it was good to get that back, and then we could move forward with sourced capital with no delays, really.
Perfect, well done. So you mentioned that you're going to flip this project, so you're going to sell it on. Was that always the case, or have you changed your mind as you've gone through this project?
We've considered a few different options. One of them was whether to make this into an HMO, because it does lend itself to that. However, as Ariel said at the start, this is an Article 4 area, so we'd have had to go through the planning permission process for that. We've also considered if we need to refinance and retain, whether that's feasible, and it is. We can repay the lending and put the property onto a long-term buy-to-let product and obviously rent it. Shouldn't be a problem. But we just thought that the preferred strategy was to just do the property up and sell it, take the profit, and move on to another project.
So some people will look at this and think, if you've got the opportunity to refinance it and add it to your portfolio, why are you not doing that? Because some people are absolutely focused on building that portfolio and increasing the number of properties they've got in it. So why didn't you choose to do that?
Well, of course, it's a different strategy. I hear a lot of people that prefer to keep everything. We are both aligned on the idea that we prefer to do more projects and do them and sell them. If we have to, we can keep them, but the preferred strategy is to do the project, complete the project, and move on another one.
So you'll be taking the profit margin from this?
Yes.
Rolling that over into the next deal and continuing to flip?
Yes, that's the idea, yes.
Unless it's too good to to let go. And I think it's fair to say that there's a balance to strike between keeping and actually maybe do say 4, keep 1, sell 3, or vice versa. It just depends. Once you've got to the point where your cash flow is covered, if you've no desire to build a big portfolio and have the ongoing headaches that can come with that, then it sometimes makes sense to sell the project, get your profit, and move on. So I think that's probably what we'll do, but it's a case by case.
So guys, we're right at the end of the project now. Tell us about the lessons that you've learned going through this renovation.
Well, I think that the major thing that you need when you start a project like this is to have a power team around you. And that's what I've built in the last year or so, because once you start the project, everything runs quite quickly. And so you need everything already at hand to manage the proper project correctly.
And did the building throw up any surprises?
There's been a couple of things that we maybe could have anticipated before we started, but maybe not. You know, one of the ceilings in one of the bedrooms, when we took that down, we had to slightly improve the kind of the base material behind that. These kind of things always come up. You never know what's kind of behind the walls until you start peeling them back. Similarly with the small outbuilding or lean-to at the back of the property, which we've decided to make into a utility room, it's ended up being a bonus on the property rather than it being a negative. I think that's what you've got to try and always do, is create a positive out of a potential problem. I think as well, it's important to keep on top of changes in the market. So we know there's the impending renters reform bill going through. So we've got one eye on that in terms of if we do have to keep it and rent it, and also looking at what other properties have come on the market and are available that are going to be in competition with this when it eventually comes on. But I think it's just remaining vigilant to make sure that you are on top of your project and drive it to a successful conclusion, basically.
And that's a great way to finish it. Purchasing for 80, renovating it to the value of 160 with a 35 grand profit out of it is a fantastic achievement. So you should be very proud of yourselves. Congratulations.
Cheers, Chris.
So if anybody's got a property that they want to sell in this kind of area, or if anybody wants to work with you guys in any future projects, how do they get in touch with you?
I think the best way to get in touch with me is on LinkedIn. I'm building quite some momentum with it. And so get in touch with me on LinkedIn. My name is Ariel Fuchs. I think if you just search my name, you will get it.
And what about you, Rick?
Similarly, I'm on LinkedIn. I'm nowhere near as active on there as I should be. Ariel does most of that kind of for both of us at the moment, but I'm aiming to step that up. But also, I think you can contact Sourced, and Sourced would be able to point you in our direction. We are always looking for investors to join us on projects.
Full name on LinkedIn?
Richard Kerfoot.
Thank you very much. If you guys want to get involved and deliver projects like this, and you want the help of finding the project, funding the project, renovating the project, and then coming out of that exit with that kind of profit margin, then make sure that you go to source.co, or in the bio, click on the link and download our prospectus.